Hello, everybody. Ace here, giving it to you straight with day 11 of the video log challenge. Today, I wanted to talk to you about the ego and shadow work and a little bit of the differences between the two, how they work together, um, how we sometimes confuse ourselves with the shadow work, and really what it's all about. So, what I believe is happening on the Earth plane right now is a shadow war between what we like to call the dark and the light force, right? So you have the dark forces and the light forces, which is just really vibrations of energy. It's just frequencies. So you have more of a negative vibration, being those who feed upon fear and anger and resentment and states of lack. And then you have those trying to bring more light into the world with abundance and joy and happiness and love and kindness and peace. And the dualistic nature of our universe creates this contrast where, for a very long time, we needed those two paradigms to exist to create the necessary scenarios on our earth to grow our spirits and continue moving forward. What I've read in my research is that planet Earth herself, Mother Gaia, is a spirit just like we have in our bodies, just like they say is in the spirit. Animals have fractals of God in them. They may not vibrate as high as the fractals of light that we exist in, but they have consciousness. Because without consciousness, nothing can take form on this planet, because you need a divine intelligence to hold it all together and kind of create the molecules and the systems and all the stuff to create our bodies, trees, leaves, everything. We've begun to stigmatize the ego. Whenever you call someone, you have an ego, or that's egotistical, or this and that, we get so offended. It's like saying F you to someone, apparently, is saying you have an ego. We all have an ego. That's what our personal reality is. That's what being human is. The human aspect of us is our ego. It's our shadow. Our ego isn't necessarily good or bad. Our shadow isn't necessarily good or bad. It just is. The ego, or the shadow, to me, my personal definition of it, it's the unacknowledged, unseen, and unheard, damaged younger version of ourselves that never had a chance to heal. It's who we become when we get triggered. It's who we become when the chips are down. And the more we walk further along our path without resolving the trauma from our past, our ego and our shadow begins to grow bigger and gain more influence over our path forward, over ourselves, and over our general outlook on life. Shadow work is honestly just sitting in your shit and dealing with it. Instead of smoking, drinking, screwing, eating, distracting away from the pain and suffering of being yourself, you sit in it, you sit with it, and you explore it. You learn yourself, you learn your ego, you learn your shadow. And you start to realize that the shadow isn't bad. The shadow actually has your back, and your ego does have your back. Because what's funny about the ego is, what we consider the ego is when it reacts. But it takes a whole lot of distraction and a whole lot of non-listening to ourselves to finally build up to a point where we react through ego, and then we judge ourselves and others judge us, and we feel bad about it. But in reality, the ego is the part of you that sticks up for you, that has your back when you don't actually have it, when you don't believe in yourself. You ever feel like you react sometimes, or something happens in a situation where it's almost like an out-of-body experience, and you just, that wasn't me. I don't know what happened. No, that was you. It was just all the parts of you that you've never explored. It's all the parts of you you've never let go of. It's all the parts of you that you've neglected your whole life. And then you judge it for reacting because you weren't strong enough to handle the situation the way it needed to be handled. And when the ego handles the situation, it's going to handle it the way it wants. And it's going to get the job done. Whatever needed to happen will happen. It's just not going to be the way you wanted it. But because we didn't have the capacity to move forward and make those choices and make those decisions consciously, unconsciously, the ego had to do it for us to get us moving forward out of stagnation in our lives. So us casting the ego as good or bad or anything is honestly taking away from the benefit of this tool that's the universe has given us to help keep us moving forward on our path. Because humans naturally, considering we have a lot of animalistic tendencies, especially when we're in our egos or we're unconscious, means that generally speaking, we don't want to do a lot of work. We naturally want to conserve as much energy as possible. So putting yourself in a situation that expends a lot of energy, puts you not in the best of moods so that you can heal, isn't something we're going to look for. That's why we want the 6-minute abs. That's why we want to go to the doctor to get this pill to make us feel better, because we don't want to actually do the right work at the right time. That's messy, it's icky, and it's not fun. It's uncomfortable. But yet on the other side of uncomfortable is freedom. That is what we're all looking for. And so the ego, in terms of shadow work, it's just learning it. It's accepting it. It's accepting the fact that you've neglected yourself for basically your entire life. It's being real with yourself. It's being real with the fact that maybe we've been lied to about everything for the entire time we've been here on this planet. It's taking your head out of the sand. It's putting yourself first. It's becoming selfishly selfless. You fill your cup so you can fill others. That's what this shadow work is all about, and it's time to do it. There's no more time left to distract and to cope and to be a piece of shit. Really, in reality, there's no more time to be a piece of shit. It's time to grow. It's time to evolve. It's time to be the beacon so that we can bring more light and love into the world. Because all of us want to improve the world. All of us want to see the world heal. We want to see people abundant. Yet we don't want to do that for ourselves, because in reality we actually hate ourselves. And that's something we can't admit. So we get expensive haircuts, we wear expensive clothes, we buy expensive cars, we try to date the most beautiful people, we try to have all this externalized, materialistic, superficial shit to make up for the fact that we actually hate ourselves and we can't stand being around ourselves. And going through your shadow is not only learning how to accept yourself, love yourself, let yourself off the hook for all the stuff that you don't like and that has caused you pain, but it's also now about accepting the fact that sometimes you need to roar. Sometimes you need to stand in your line. Sometimes you need to cut people out who are hurting you. That's self-neglect more than anything. It's not listening to yourself. It's not listening to your intuition. It's not listening to the signs and synchronicities of the universe trying to guide you to exactly what it is you want. But because we think we know more, we're the strongest, fastest, greatest civilization ever, yet we're poisoned, all 8 billion of us. So I don't think that's the case. We need to check our egos at the door, and we need to start sitting in our shit and dealing with it. And so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about shadow work, a little bit about the ego. I wanted to help kind of give you a better idea of the stigma that ego has caused us to kind of turn away from it. But it's just like yesterday's video when I was talking about a little bit of my anxiety. The ego is a tool to help us grow. So if we could stop casting everything with labels like we just love to do, we would finally see that everything here that is happening is for us, it's for our benefit, and that's truly all about the love. So if you like what you've seen and heard today, think about hitting that like button. If you want to join the Army of Energy, hit that subscribe button. If you want to follow me on Instagram, go to Conspiracy Realists on Instagram. I'll be out of jail there soon too. And I hope you all have a really good day. And if you have a chance today or tonight, sit down with yourself, take a couple deep breaths, and just start pondering, how can I become more healthy and happy in my life? That is the start of the shadow work. Just ask yourself questions. I'm telling you, ourselves are waiting to be heard, seen, and acknowledged. Thank you all. I'll talk to you soon.